She lectures and coaches senior executives at the London Business School, Chicago Booth, Oxford and Judge Business Schools. She is one of the world's leading experts in raising productivity through the science of happiness at work. Her name is Jessica Pryce-Jones, founder and CEO of iOpener and the author of Science of Happiness at Work.
Our data is really clear, and the research that we've done since 2005 at the iOpener Institute shows super abundantly clearly that the happier you are at work, the more productive you are. And there's one really interesting statistic that I'd like to give you. If people are happy at work, our data shows that they're on task 80% of the time. On task means that they're doing their job, the job that they're paid to do, 4 days a week. That's kind of 80% of the time. But if you're not happy at work, you're focusing on task only 40% of the time. That's 2 days a week. That's why organisations really need to start thinking, how do we do this and how do we deliver this, not only for our managers, but for everybody who works inside an organisation.
So what is it? How do you term happiness? Is it like getting into the office and singing throughout the day? What for you? No, but I suppose the question, how do you measure how do I know that I'm really happy at going to work? I know a family member who's just started in a job, cannot wait to go, just does not want to leave when he does have to leave. Is that how you realize that, okay, I really am happy in my job? Well,
the way that you know you're happy, you ask you, are you happy at work? And most people know, are they happy in what they do and what effect that has. But for us, we know from the research there are 5 really clear drivers. Contribution is about what you do and how you do it. Then we've got conviction, which is your short-term motivation. Culture is your feeling of fit, and it's not necessarily about the culture you're in, but do you fit that culture? Commitment is your long-term engagement with both yourself and what you're doing and your organisation. And then you've got confidence. And those are the 5 C's. And confidence kind of unlocks everything else. But around the edge of those, we've got trust in your organisation, pride in your organisation, and recognition back from it. And if you have all of those things in place, you'll feel you're achieving your potential and you'll be really happy.
I was reading Tony Shea, CEO of Zappos. I was reading his book, Delivering Happiness, which is was just amazing to me. And he says in the book, one of the things, I mean, this is an online store, but a lot of people go there to see how are their employees so happy. And he was saying that it's a culture that you have, and from what it sounds to me from what he's saying in the book, is that this is something that has to start with the owners. The employee walking in is not the one that creates that culture.
Well, I disagree. I think it's top down and bottom up. So everybody needs to be working towards this thing because everybody benefits. If you say, hello, my manager, you are responsible for my happiness at work, one of the things you're doing is taking away the control and investment that somebody has. So I think empowerment is one of the most important things for Africa.
What do you do though? Because there are times when I'll be training people and I'll ask them this very question. You've got these amazing ideas, why are you not implementing them at work? And the answer that I get almost each and every time, and this is different groups of people working in different companies, is that if I go back and if I try and do this, it's just going to be this, who do you think you are? You're going over my head. And people are actually afraid to do that. So there is that I want to do this and this will make me happy, it will make me more productive, will make me contribute more, but I feel as though there's so many barriers for me to do that.
I think that's a cop-out, and it's called get out of jail free card. You know, when you play Monopoly, you play that card. It means you don't have to make an effort. So I challenge anybody, if you go to your boss and you say, I've got an idea of how I could work even harder, you don't have to say this will make me happier. This is an idea of how I could work harder and do more. Who's going to say no? Nobody in their right mind. And I don't believe anyone turns up at work to be a failure.
How much do people spend on this? You talk about focusing on what a person is really good at and not insisting on what you think they should be doing. How much do companies, do you think, do that in the research that you found?
There are not many organisations that understand that when you enable people to use their strengths more, they want to work more, because work doesn't feel like work when you're good at what you're doing. You invest more in it anyway because it's enjoyable. And I don't think many organisations that we've come across understand how to use that and how to say to people, look, help shape the job so that it's really what you want it to be, and you are very energized by it.
How do you do that as a company? Because as a company, you've got your vision, you've got your strategy of where you're going, and you have an idea of how you're going to get there. So now that's what we want to do, is how do we trust you now to say, well, this is how I can contribute? How do we trust you with our strategy, with our vision, that at the end of the day, you're still going to be able to meet what we need to be able to meet that vision?
So what we do is we go into an organisation and we assess what's actually going on, and we analyse all the data, and then we act, because there isn't a one-size-fits-all. You have to look at what's working well, and this is happiness at work, so we're always looking at what goes well and then what could be better. And so you can only get that with an assessment. So it's like using medicine. You wouldn't nip into a pharmacy and say, just give me what's on the shelf. You go to the doctor, and the doctor says, let's do some tests and get a swab. And then you look at the swab and you say, right, what we want is a broad spectrum antibiotic. And that's the whole process. Assess, analyse and act. And then you get the solution right.
One of the things that you said that was really interesting is that a person does not have to go into management for them to continue being great at what they do. Now I was like, well, that sounds kind of something that makes sense to me. But then one of the things that we do is when we measure ourselves, we measure our success, our growth, is how much am I being promoted, how much more am I earning. When you talk about this, what are you saying actually?
Well, I think that having meaning is one of the most important things. So let me just tell you a little story about, I was going through Heathrow Airport in London one day, and it was 4:30 in the morning, and somebody was rifling through my purse, and I said a little snarky comment. I said, "You love your job, do you?" And this woman turned around and she said, "Do you know what? What I'm doing is, I have a fear of flying, and if I can reduce that little risk by one tiny bit for everybody who's coming through my security gate, I'm helping them get over a fear of flying, and I'm keeping Britain safe." And I thought, wow, I